What's up, beautiful people? CorwinLGuilliams here. I King amongst Kings, CLG speaks. Hope you guys are feeling blessed. Hope you guys are grateful to be alive. Some people didn't wake up this morning, we did. And that's enough reason for us to find even the smallest opportunity to be grateful. So I wanted to come on here to do, I have about 11, 12 minutes before I, go in and to take care of something. And I wanted to just come on here and, per usual, give you guys some words of encouragement and begin to use my daily experiences as a motivational factor and as an opportunity to, just get on here and just share some of share my daily experiences, and at the same time also share, how the Spirit of God has taught me to deal with situations and people. So I just came from viewing an apartment complex, and I've been feeling in my spirit, by God to, start looking for a place to live for a while now. But I've just finally now, I guess, developed or mustered up the faith and the belief to, move out and start moving. When God asks you to do something, whether it's go to a car dealership and look at cars, or start looking for apartments, or go, like he told the Joshuaites, right, to walk around, where was it, Lord, that you was bringing them, and the walls of Jericho, to walk around the walls of Jericho, right? And in their obedience, it came crumbling down. Now, that could be symbolic of anything that the Spirit of God has asked you to do, right? Whether it's, like I said, go to this car dealership, you know what I'm saying? After, of course, you've prayed and you've spoken to God, and you know that he has answered your prayer, or that he is going to answer your prayer. So you wait in expectation. And so, like the Israelites, you know what I'm saying, because of their fellowship with the Lord, they knew exactly where to be. They knew that the Spirit of God was leading them, and the walls of Jericho, the city of Jericho, was a place that the Lord was going to give to them. And so there was a part of them, there was a responsibility for them to, of course, stay connected to the Spirit of God, so that they can hear and know exactly what his instructions were and his strategy was, for them to basically win a battle that they didn't have to fight, right? All they basically had to do was walk around, again, follow his precise instructions and walk around the walls of Jericho. Well, what was it, Lord? About 7 times. And then, make a loud noise, jump and shout for joy, and the walls came tumbling down. Now again, this can be symbolic for anything that the Spirit of God has asked you to do, or is leading you in your spirit to do. It can be to start your clothing line. It can be to start, the menu for your restaurant. It can be little things that may seem minuscule, right? And you're like, well, God, what does this have to do with this big vision that you feel in your heart? It's the same vision, as big or as small as God has placed in you. It still comes from him. So we have to honor the small steps, honor the minuscule steps, honor, just maybe the judgment that you may be feeling if you're going to look for an apartment and you have no money in your bank account, you have no provisions. You're going to look for, an apartment or a car or whatever. As myself, to be honest with you, I don't know how I'm going to afford this apartment. I don't know how I'm going to get this place, or how it's going to work out, but my faith is telling me to do, what the Spirit of God has told me to do, and to go exactly where he has told me to go, and sometimes to speak exactly to who he has told you to speak to. All of these, it's part of just obedience and just trusting God and your relationship with God. At the end of the day, it's about you knowing the voice of God, right? My sheep know my voice. So it's kind of like all of this is training and development to take you to the bigger places and the bigger spaces that are more, where bad decisions are more consequential in a negative way, right? Meaning that, if you're not able to, listen and be attentive and faithful in the small seasons, or in seasons where it seems like, where it's just really no one's really looking at you, right? So for example, the Spirit of God may ask you to go do something that is just you and God, right? For example, go to a dealership, a car dealership, go look and see, look at a car, or go look at apartments and see which ones you like, and it's easier to do this when you're alone, when you're single. Like for me, I feel like it's easier for me because I don't have anyone to answer to. I don't have a wife, I don't have children or family members that I'm have any type of responsibility for, where, you know, my decisions ultimately affects them, or if there's anything that goes wrong, you know, it falls back on them. You know, it's like whatever happens now between me and the Spirit of God is between me and the Spirit of God. People could think what they want to think, you know, as you know, people could assume what they want to assume, but it becomes different when you have known responsibilities or obligations, when you now have people in your life. And ultimately, that's what you end up doing, right? When you grow in the Spirit of God and the things of God, you grow in leadership, you grow in governing His people, you grow in just, again, leading the people, His people, into the promised land. And so there's certain things that you have to know without a shadow of a doubt. What is the voice of God? And know ultimately that you know your decisions is not only affecting you, but it's affecting other people's lives. So I think it's part of the training process. And you know, if you're afraid to be embarrassed, you know what I'm saying, when it's just you alone, then you definitely ain't going to be ready to be embarrassed when your decisions affect everyone. And when, you know, when I think about Moses, right, when I think about Moses and him going through the wilderness, right, and him leading and being obedient to the voice of God, yet still, you know what I'm saying, there were people who, even though he was being obedient, thank you, Holy Spirit, for this revelation and this word, but even though he was being obedient to the Spirit of God, there were people who still questioned his authority. There were still people who questioned his, you know, his authority and leadership. And to the point where they began to oppose him in words and even in actions, to the point where the Spirit of God had to come in and set things straight. Now, that gives us confidence, you know, as believers, that, you know what I'm saying, that at the end of the day, once we're doing what we're supposed to do and people try to come against us, that, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, God will take care of them. But at the same time, you know, it's kind of like, as a human being, you know, especially when you're growing in your relationship with God, you know, you tend to want to care about people's opinions. You tend to be concerned with, you know, just what people think and what they say, even though they don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. It's just part of human nature. And I think it's also part of just the growth, right? The growth that we all have to experience in God, where, you know, we really have to be freed of people pleasing and the fear of man. And, you know that if we're being obedient to God, even when we may mess up, just because our heart is loyal to God and faithful to God, that He will, you know, He will give us the victory. Like, He will turn things out into our favor and shame those who had the audacity and just, you know, just the entitlement, and just, again, how the enemy uses people to, how the enemy influences people, you know what I'm saying, to speak against their own selves, you know, and how, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you can't, you know, who God bless, no man curse, right? Touch not His anointed and do His prophets no harm. That means put not your mouth and your words and your curses on God's chosen. I was reading Genesis yesterday, and the story where Abraham, you know, went into the city and he told his Sarah to act like she was his brother, right? To say that he was her brother, and because of how beautiful she was, and because, of course, you know, he knew, and which they did, you know what I'm saying, the leaders in that city, how they took Sarah because of her beauty, and took her, you know, how the king took her into his harem. And the word talks about how the Spirit of God told the man, you know, the leader, the king, I forgot his name, but said to him, you know, if you touch that, basically, like, leave that woman alone, like, release that woman to her husband. That's a married woman, and if you touch her, not only you're gonna die, but everything that belongs to you, your family, and everything. And I was like, ooh, you know, don't play with, you know, the Lord said He is a prophet. The man is a prophet. Release the man to his, release the woman to him, release the woman to her husband, and he will pray for you and intercede for you, and everything will be okay. So that's powerful for you out there, not knowing the power and the authority and the dominion that you have as a prophet, a priest, or as a servant of God. You know, you have the power to to do some damage, right? But I'm going to continue this. My time is up. I have to go now to see what's going on with this place. So I'll come back on later on and let you know how everything goes. All right, beautiful people. Talk to you guys soon. CorwinLGuilliams.